So today, I want to share a perspective you're not going to find in a standard breakdown video. The trailer for the upcoming Generation 10 Pokémon Wind and Waves has given the community so much to be excited about. Vibrant new starter Pokémon, beautiful sunny beaches, and a stunning tropical setting. But for me, seeing this trailer was incredibly special because I actually live right here in Southeast Asia, the real-world region that inspired this brand new map. Looking at these early teasers through the lens of someone who grew up here reveals a layer of world building that is easy to miss if you don't know what to look for. While the surface level looks like a standard tropical paradise, Game Freak is actually hiding clues to a massive narrative shift right in plain sight. They are building a story not just about a region, but about a world divided by a brutal invisible boundary. And the key to this narrative lies right here in how the environment forces the Pokemon into a state of infinite dynamic evolution. So if you look closely at the specific architecture of the roadside buildings, the unique environmental layouts, and the rumored dynamic mechanics of the new companion Pokemon, which I'm so excited for, it becomes clear that this isn't just a simple island adventure. Game Freak is weaving together a complex, fascinating story grounded in real-world biogeography, climate themes, and the local culture. By taking you on a deeper dive into the real-world biology of our backyard, exploring a 150-year-old evolutionary mystery that perfectly explains the new gameplay mechanics, and uncovering the local design details that make this setting so intentional, we're going to look at why Generation 10 is preparing to deliver one of the most mature, meaningful stories in Pokemon history. To understand how this rumored dynamic evolution works, we have to look at the biogeography of our backyard. While the massive Game Freak data breaches confirm that Gen 10 is deep in development under the codename Gaia, the community has been buzzing over leaked concepts suggesting a region heavily inspired by Southeast Asia, focusing on Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and more. But if these rumors are true, Game Freak isn't just copying our geography, they are gamifying our planet's greatest evolutionary anomaly. In the real world, this exact spot is home to the Wallace Line, discovered by naturalist Alfred Russel Wallace in the 1850s. This invisible boundary runs through a deep water ocean trench. But the mind-blowing part, the distance between these islands is incredibly narrow. At the Lombok Strait, you can literally see the other side. Yet, because the deep water channel prevented land bridges during the ice ages, animals could never cross. West of the line, the wildlife is purely Asian, mammalian apex predators and large placentals. But just a few miles east, across that narrow strait, the ecosystem completely resets. Placentals vanish, the wild turns into an Australasian wonderland of marsupials and ancient reptiles. It is like stepping through a portal of a completely different dimension of biology. And this is where the theoretical leap gets revolutionary. Insiders suggest that the region's unique mechanic, dubbed infinite dynamic evolution, is tied directly to this boundary. If this code manifests in the final game, Game Freak is literally turning the Wallace Line into a gameplay mechanic. The theory points to a specific seed Pokemon whose procedural code warps dynamically depending on where it's raised. So if you catch this Pokemon and train it on the western islands of the region, its DNA is going to adapt to the Asian fauna ecosystem, forcing it into a mammalian, predator-like form. But the moment you take that exact same Pokemon across the deep water channels to the eastern islands, its biology adapts on the fly, locking into an avian or a marsupial variant. If Game Freak actually pulls this off, it completely redefines the core loop of a Pokemon game. It shifts Gen 10 from a standard linear RPG into a living simulation of island biogeography. You're not just going to be choosing an evolution path from a static menu anymore. Your Pokemon's DNA would be actively reacting to the invisible biological forces of the map itself. But this incredible biological sandbox is directly under threat. According to recent plot summaries making the rounds online, the core narrative of Winds and Waves is rumored to revolve around this exact mechanic. The leaked files suggest that this seed Pokemon functions as an adaptive companion whose form is highly volatile, and the conflict kicks off because its fragile ecosystem sits directly in the crosshairs of human expansion. Now, I looked at this environmental setup and thought, wait, Hasn't Pokemon already done a climate crisis plotline? And longtime Pokemon fans might think the same too. You're completely right. Over 20 years ago, Generation 3's Ruby and Sapphire, which was honestly one of my favorite games to play, put climate change at the center of the franchise. But Hoenn's environmental crisis was ultimately a cartoonish black and white fantasy. The droughts and the torrential rainstorms weren't caused by human society. They were triggered by eccentric cult leaders waving magic glass orbs to wake up ancient sleeping monsters. You stop the bad guys, fix the weather, and save the day. But these circulating community leaks suggest that Winds and Waves could be abandoning that safe formula to mirror real-world environmental anxiety. Instead of an extremist eco-cult, the primary antagonist is framed as a highly successful, completely legal corporate conglomerate, heavily backed by external business networks. They are destroying fragile coastal ecosystems and reclaiming land purely to expand luxury tourist resorts. This leaked outline indicates that you navigate this systemic greed through a character-driven dynamic, traveling with a local native fighting to halt the corporate destruction of their home, and a companion who is supposedly the oblivious heir to the exact CEO funding the exploitation. If you live in Southeast Asia, you know the story, because we see it happen in real life all the time. The environmental degradation in Gen 10 wouldn't be triggered by a fantasy laser. It's driven by aggressive over-tourism. Even the monsoons and typhoons aren't tools controlled by a villain. They are a volatile natural reaction from a broken ecosystem pushed past its breaking point. By shifting the conflict from magical monsters to corporate exploitation and personal accountability, Game Freak has the opportunity to deliver the most mature, realistic critique of ecology the franchise has ever attempted, assuming these concept builds actually make it to the final game. The Pokemon franchise has never been afraid to touch on heavy emotional notes. We have seen Ant struggle with the ethics of Pokemon battles in Unova, and we've seen Arven navigate immense grief and family abandonment in Paldea. But even in those darker moments, the games always protect the player. The narrative remains an unstoppable straight line where you always win. The crisis is perfectly averted and the post-game world goes back to a normal. If the latest community leaks are accurate, Project Gaia might be preparing to take away that safety net entirely, delivering the most mature story structural shift we have ever seen. According to these rumors, because the central conflict is built around corporate land reclamation and environmental degradation, the game could introduce multiple branching endings. For the first time in franchise history, your choices as a trainer would carry permanent, world-altering consequences. The theory suggests that if you choose to align closely with the rapid economic expansion of resort hubs, or if you fail to calm the volatile weather in time, the game won't just give you a game over screen to try again. Instead, the environment permanently degrades. The beautiful coastal waters you explored early in the game turn murky. Radical, catastrophic monsoons permanently seal off entire routes and islands in your post-game open world. Now, from a game design perspective, this would be a massive gamble for Game Freak, breaking their historical rule of keeping the post-game identical for all players to ensure fair trading and completion. But if they actually implement it, it gives the player true narrative accountability. The story becomes deeply meaningful because it treats the audience like adults, acknowledging that in the real world, complex problems don't just disappear when you win a single battle. Sometimes human ambition leaves permanent scars on the world, and we have to learn how to live with the consequences of what we have built. For years, the Pokemon community has begged Game Freak to take off the training wheels, to make our choices matter and give the franchise its teeth back. By grounding Project Gaia, Pokemon Wind and Waves in the fragile, volatile ecosystems of Southeast Asia, they aren't just changing the map, they're challenging how we think about our relationship with the digital worlds we explore. If these leaks hold true, we're about to get one of the most mature, uncompromising Pokemon story ever told. But a shift this massive leaves the community divided. Would you want a dynamic companion that physically alters its biology based on the choices you make? Or do you prefer the classic, predictable, three-stage evolution lines we've used for decades? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want more deep dive analytical breakdowns into the hidden design of your favorite games, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.